What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Dude Hines Show. Today, I am joined by What's up, everybody? It's Jordan. Welcome to the Sports Dude Hines Show. In today's video, I'm joined by special guest Joe Morley of the Warzone Sports Network. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing good. I'm not appreciating that sweater, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it was a custom-made logo of my Bengals page. It was my old logo. I had to get a new one because with Burrow getting drafted and stuff. You are obviously a big Raiders fan. I'm a big Bengals fan. We have lots to talk about. Going to talk about the game from this past Saturday. What's going to be next for the Raiders' future? There's lots of uncertainties. With head coach Derek Carr. Want to have some picks for the playoff games for this week. Some very intriguing games. But first, we'll kind of talk about the game on Saturday. The Raiders against the Bengals. The Bengals get their first playoff win in over 30 years. They beat the Raiders, 26 to 19. So, what were your kind of reactions and thoughts on this game with the Raiders?
Well, I get a lot of crap from Raider fans because I consider myself more of a realistic Raider fan, right? So when I'm watching the game, the Bengals came out and they dominated that first half. Don't get it twisted. I know a lot of people are hung up on that touchdown where the whistle blew. Yes. Should it have been a called dead? Yes. Did it make an impact to the game? Probably not. Right? Okay. If they would have kicked the field goal, how much would it have changed the game? I don't know. I'm not hung up on that one play because I saw the domination. The Raiders could not stop that offense at all. Until late in the game, they stopped them twice, made them punt twice throughout the game. But the whole first half, whatever Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase wanted to do, they did it. Right? So Raider fans they get mad at me for being realistic, but I'm just until that second half, the Raiders weren't really in the game. They turned it into the game, and it actually became one of the best game. It was the best game of the weekend of all playoff games. This was the best one. Went down to the wire. Now, was I kind of upset with that non-pass interference on Eli Apple at the end of the game? That one I could do it, but kudos to the Bengals. It was a great game, and that to me, okay. When I predicted the Raiders at the beginning of the season, I said 10-7. I said possible playoffs, and then after all the crap the Raiders went through this season, I didn't expect them to be in the playoffs. It was just a horrible chain of events that happened. Didn't even have their head coach. They went in and they made the playoffs, right? So to me, it was unexpected. They had no expectations on them. They went out there and hung with one of the best teams in the league and put on a great performance. So I'm happy with what the Raiders did. I'm upset with the loss, but I can take it because there was no expectations on them this year.
Yeah, when you look at the teams around the league this season, teams who exceed expectations, obviously the Bengals are near the top of the list. The Eagles are up there too. I only had them having 3 wins this season. They go to the playoffs. Even though they sucked in the playoffs, they still somehow were over 500. And then the Raiders have to be in the discussion as well. I feel like of all these teams who kind of exceeded expectations, even though the Bengals were kind of the surprise team of the year, it's kind of hard for me. I try not to be biased as well. It's kind of hard for me to not say the Raiders were the most surprising team this season because with the Gruden firing, the Henry Ruggs situation, you have all these guys getting in trouble, and even Darren Waller was out some this year. And heading into the season, I was one of the people who said, I don't think Derek Carr is all that great, and to me, I think he probably had his best season as a starter in the league. This was his first playoff game he got to play in. And then, he took his team to the playoffs with all that adversity, all the stuff he had to go through this year. Definitely the most challenging season he's ever had to face. And a season that, honestly could be his last. We'll kind of get into that later. But, with the Raiders, to me, the Bengals, the first half, it was all Cincinnati. And I feel like the second half, they were almost as if they were too conservative. They weren't trying to, mix up different, really impressive play calls like they did in the first half. Despite this being a 7-point game, the Raiders, at times it looked like the Bengals were in full control, but other times it was kind of, the Raiders, if they can just stop them one more time, they're right back in it. But, everything went wrong for the Raiders. I mean, Derek Carr, I think he was 4 of 17 in the red zone throwing, which is absolutely unheard of. The kickoff where it went, the guy got it at the 5-yard line, the fumble, one of the first drives for Carr. You got all that stuff that happened. And they still only lost to one of the best teams in the league by 7 points. I mean, with the interim head coach, realistically, we're looking at a scenario where the head coach of this game and the starting quarterback of this game are not with his team next season.
Yeah.
They go into Cincinnati, and I mean, despite them not really having control of the game, and the Bengals from the majority of the game, having control, this was super impressive by the Raiders to me. Heading into the game, I thought for sure the Bengals were going to win because at this point, I feel like if whoever is playing the Bengals, if they don't have a better quarterback than Burrow, which at this point seems like it's nearly impossible to, the Bengals are capable of winning this game. I felt very confident, but there were several times I was like, I'm still kind of confident, but if one other thing happens, like do you take that fumble away, or if that kickoff goes out of bounds and they start off the ball at the 40, like this could have been a lot closer than people think. And I feel like the Raiders definitely deserve a lot more credit, despite all the adversity they've had to go through this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in that game that the Raiders killed themselves, but what I've been preaching about is what happens, whatever your weakness is in the regular season, it gets exposed to the magnitude, a bigger magnitude in the postseason. So the Raiders always struggled with red zone offense this year, and not just this year. For the past 5 years, they've been one of the worst offensive red zone offenses in the league. They can get down there, but they kick field goals, and everybody knows field goals don't win you championships. They don't win you games. You have to score every once in a while. So that hurt them. Kenyon Drake made the bonehead mistake of whatever the hell he was thinking, but he should have just stepped out of bounds and grabbed that ball. But at the end of the day, if you can't stop the other team, it doesn't matter what happens. You still gave up, 26 points. You still gave it up. You couldn't stop him. Like Jamar Chase had 9 catches? Like he was on fire. Like, hey, kudos to the Bengals, and I think you and I mentioned this earlier. What a great decision by them to go with Jamar Chase, and what a difference that has made, like in year one of just going on. But I don't want to just sit here and like cry about the Raiders because I'm happy. I'm glad with, like you said, everything that they went through this year, the adversity and all that stuff. Derek Carr shined, and I'm a big Derek Carr believer. And I love Derek Carr, and would love to continue to have him, and we can talk about that in a minute. But everything that the Raiders had, I can't be pissed off. I can't sit here and be like they should have won this game. No, because they put their heart out there. They did it. I just feel that the Bengals were the better team, and Joe Burrow and his persona and attitude, it's growing on me. Like just. I know he dissed the Raiders at the end of the game, and he was like, we expected to be here. We expected to win this. Like, that, I took that as a diss to the Raiders, but it also took it like, what a badass. What a badass.
Yeah, I could get that. You kind of first did with Burrow, dissing the team. But to me, like, there's just so much difference, and there's just so much more hope and confidence when you have a guy like Burrow who, I mean, we could be playing the Buccaneers, the Packers, it doesn't matter. And be like, we're expected to win this game. As for you take a couple years ago when we had Dalton, we got to regroup, we got to be better. Like that, the fact, the confidence is building in Cincinnati. It is just so crazy. We kind of mentioned before the show, the fact, we haven't done something in 30 years, and now we're expected to do this every single season for as long as Burrow's with the Bengals is just insane. And something else, it's crazy that the Bengals won the AFC North going at 10-7, and they're kind of big favorites to be in this game. They're picked to win by 6, the start of the spread, but they're playing the Raiders, who also had the same wins, same amount as win as the Bengals. Like, to me, that is insane. We're talking about this Bengals team who is really hard to stop, one of the best teams in the league, but also the Raiders. They have the same exact wins. It is very impressive that they were able to do this on such a really bad season when it comes to coaching and all the things that did not go their way. And something else, the more I think about that fumble, one of the first drives with the Raiders, I think that's probably the biggest play of the game, because I know it could be debatable with other plays. Well, the biggest play of the game aside from the Jermaine Pratt interception, but at that point it was 7-0. The Bengals were winning. But, up until that play, the Raiders were running down the Bengals' throat every single time they wanted to. Like, if they had a rushing attempt, it was 4 or 5 yards, pretty much guaranteed. So after they made that field goal, it was a 2-possession game. Then at that point, it's going to be harder for them to run because, I mean, when you run, you're taking time off the clock and you're kind of hurting yourself. unless you get first down after first down. But if they don't fumble that, if that's still one possession, who's to say the Raiders don't start running the ball down their throat like they did the first drive and when they scored? It's very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals can maybe continue this success, this week. But I've already said it, but this Raiders team was just very impressive. I expected this to win, but I did not really expect the Raiders to be, this, close and really play a great game overall. Despite some of the, not great plays, they still made it very, very close.
Yeah, and I did get my backups confused. Sorry, Tony. I said Drake instead of Peyton Barber. It don't matter. I hate both of them. I don't like I don't like either one of them. But I mean, like you said, it was a great season. I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on it. Congratulations to the Bengals. They move on, and everything that you saw in that game one against the Raiders, and you just touched on it, their rushing game. Well, guess what? Now they have to go take on the Titans, and without their defensive tackles, and hopefully stop Derek Henry.
Yeah, I've been telling people if the Bengals get up to like a 10-0 lead or something like that, if there's ever a part of the game where we're up 2 possessions, I feel like at that point you got to feel super comfortable because even though they have Henry, you want Ryan Tannehill to throw that ball. Ryan Tannehill sucks in the playoffs. I think he's nothing more than a game manager. So there's a situation like that. I feel very confident the Bengals are able to win a game. But kind of talk about the playoff picks here in a little bit, but with the Raiders, there's so much uncertainty, heading into the offseason that we already kind of mentioned. And their interim head coach Rick Pizzacci, he was 7-5 as the interim head coach, which is really impressive despite all the things he had to go through. So there's lots of talks who could be the next head coach of the Raiders. So who do you think the Raiders should hire to be their next head coach?
I've thought about this question, and sometimes my mind changes all the time. But I don't like Rick Bisaccia. Bisaccia, however you say his name. I can't even say his name right because I don't expect him to be the coach anymore. I understand what he did. I understand the leadership he had, but he still made some mistakes. He took a good team. Yes, he took a very good team, and he won 7 games. Good. You're supposed to win those games, right? There's not really a game in there that he wasn't supposed to win. You could actually say that the New York game was bad for him. The teams that he's supposed to hang competitive against, Kansas City, he got blown out twice against Kansas City. Do you want to bring a head coach back that got blown out, that didn't even hang with our division rival, the guy that won the division? So you got to look at those 5 losses and break those down a little bit. But he did do a good job. He brought the team together when they needed to. I don't want him as a head coach. I know there's rumors about Jim Harbaugh. I wouldn't mind that. If Jim Harbaugh came and he brought Vic Fangio with him, I would like it. We're also looking for a general manager. So I want the general manager to be able to pick. And I know I am one of the guys that I like is Ed Dobbs from Indianapolis Colts. And I wouldn't mind him bringing in Efferblees, if that's how you say his name, the defensive coordinator from the Indianapolis Colts. I don't want Byron Leftwich. I don't want Kellen Moore. I don't want Dan Quinn. Basically what I've been saying is I want the Raiders to do their due diligence and interview as many people as they can. Find that diamond in the rough. Because last time when they hired John Gruden, that's the only interview they did was John Gruden. That's it. They've already brought in Gerard Mayo, which could be good, which could be not. I would like them to interview D'Amico Ryans would be a good one to bring in. Just interview all these people and find somebody, because that's how you're going to find somebody. You're going to find somebody that is going to stand out, and you're going to be like, oh, crap. Because you can't tell me that Rich is the only guy that's motivated, that can motivate a team like that. Good for him. But there's a reason he hasn't been a head coach for 30-plus years. There's a reason for that at any level. But to me, I've always backed whoever the head coach is. Whoever they hire, I'll back them. And I'll find a reason to back them until they prove it wrong. So, but I would like the Harbaugh way. I would like my and you probably like this one. My dream scenario for the Raiders is to somehow bring Mike Tomlin to Vegas. And you would love it because you get him out of your division. And that would be my dream scenario right there, is to bring Mike Tomlin to Vegas.
Tomlin to Vegas, I would cross my fingers on that. Like, that would be freaking awesome because, despite, the Steelers not been, great the past couple of years, they have still been very impressive year in, year out. Tomlin's never had a losing season with the Steelers. And, Pasacci, he's done a great job with the Raiders. But at the same time, you look at the head coach and you look at the quarterback. If you look at that head coach and quarterback, and if you don't think that head coach or quarterback can win you a Super Bowl, you trade that quarterback and you fire that coach. And to me, I don't think Pasacci can win them a Super Bowl. He's done a great job. But, you said they need to do their due diligence and look at all these guys. And you mentioned everybody and so many different coaches except for one. And to me, when I started looking at coaches, to me, I think it's obvious. And I think this can put the Raiders in contention for the AFC West once they, get a little bit better roster. So you look at the Chiefs and, Andy Reid and Mahomes, they're going to be together for the next 10 to 15 years in Kansas City. You look at the Chargers. They have Justin Herbert, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. He's going to be there for the next 10 to 15 years. In LA, the Broncos have an extremely underrated roster. I think they have one of the most underrated rosters in the league, and they just need to find that quarterback. If they can find that quarterback, they can be really good. And then you look at the Raiders. Despite some say having the worst roster in the AFC West, they still managed to get 10 wins. They need a coach who can put up these 30, 40-point games against the Chiefs and against the Chargers. We saw what happened when the Raiders played the Chiefs earlier this season. The Chiefs scored over 40 points, and the Raiders couldn't even score 20. They need to hire the Bills offense coordinator, Brian Daboll. I think this makes the most sense, and I think he can get the most out of Derek Carr. And if Derek Carr is not the future quarterback of the Raiders, I think he can get the most out of their next future quarterback. You look at Brian Daboll. He has been a huge reason for Josh Allen's development. Like his first season with Josh Allen, they were 29th in total offense. His rookie season, the next year, they were top 5. Daboll won 5 Super Bowls with the Patriots, and he's won a championship with Alabama. So he knows the winning way. He's been around some great coaches in the league. I think Daboll would make a lot of sense for the Raiders, and especially if you want to contend with these guys for the Chargers and the Chiefs for the next 10 to 15 seasons.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, I wouldn't argue it if they brought him in. I'd find a reason to like him, and he has a great resume. It's just that I don't know, like him and Eric Bieniemy, for some reason, to me, do they benefit from the quarterbacks that they have? Do they benefit from being in a good position with their head coach and stuff? That's my only thing. And it's the same reason I don't like Brian Leftwich, is because Brian Leftwich is what? He's an Adam Gase as of right now. Do I think he could be a head coach later on? Yeah. But right now he's benefiting from who? Tom Brady. So those are the 3 that I don't want, because could they be great head coaches? Yes. But are they benefiting from great quarterback play right now? Hell yes. And why didn't they get head coaching jobs last year? I want to know that. Like, it never comes out, but there's reasons why. Like, Daboll should have got the Los Angeles Charger job. What made Staley stand out more than him? If you're looking at both resumes, and this guy clearly is way better, but Staley got the job, it makes me wonder why these guys aren't getting jobs. Something has to be, because the NFL, no matter what you say, the NFL, they're not dumb. They give the head coaches that deserve jobs the jobs, but maybe they don't give them the long enough in the tenure, or they go to the wrong team. But these guys that are top tier guys get the jobs. But why haven't Daboll and Bieniemy got their jobs? Like, that's something's off about that to me.
I feel like Bieniemy has kind of, he's been credited for some of Mahomes' success, but it's more so, Andy Reid and Mahomes. I feel like with Daboll, since he's been there with Allen day one, has kind of helped him more. But I could get that, and I especially agree with what you said there with Daboll to the Chargers. Last season I was all over that. I thought that makes so much sense. Why didn't that happen? And the Chargers, one of their their GM or one of their front office guys went to school with Daboll. So to me, like, there's already connection there. How could you possibly screw up, that interview process and you don't get that job? I thought it was, obvious it's going to happen. and somehow it doesn't. You're kind of shocked it doesn't. What could possibly went wrong there? But yeah, I could understand that. To me, I feel like when it goes to head coaches, Leftwich, he obviously being with Brady has a big effect on him. But when you look at Leftwich's first year being an offense coordinator without Brady, in Tampa Bay, they were top 5 in total points, top 5 in passing yards, top 5 in total offense. To me, if I had to rank those 3, I would probably put Daboll, I don't know, maybe Bieniemy, then Leftwich. But out of those 3, if I had to pick one for the Raiders, obviously I'm not a Raiders fan, but out of those 3, I would probably pick Daboll because I think he can get the most out of Derek Carr, just like he's got the most out of Josh Allen the last several seasons.
See, and what's the other guy? The other guy that's picking up steam right now, is it Gannon? Sean Gannon?
I'm not for sure.
The defensive coordinator for the Eagles.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. He's picking up a lot of steam, but I don't know. Those are the older coaches, but the young coaches like Zach Taylor are the more success that Zach Taylor and the guy from the Eagles right now, Sirianni, the more success that they have, the more people, the teams are looking at these other non-offense coordinators, non-defense coordinators that are on the staff somewhere else. And more teams are looking for those kind of guys are the next Sean McVays, basically, is what they want.
When Taylor was hired with, that's something else. When Taylor was hired to Cincinnati, when Lewis was let go, everybody thought Bieniemy was going to Cincinnati. It seemed like it was already happening. There was reports, supposedly, it was announced within a year or so ago, former Bengals quarterback Jeff Blake was already going to be on the Bengals staff with Bieniemy. So Bieniemy was already building up his staff, and then somehow, he doesn't get this job. Everybody's shocked, head scratching. They get some guy named Zach Taylor, nobody's really heard of before, just out of all of a sudden, it's like picking a name out of a hat. And then he's done so much for Cincinnati. I've been so wrong about Taylor, and I've never been more happy to be wrong. Like, I was so freaking excited because when I was, talking bad about him, I always kept on saying, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. Then I am. It is great. He's done great. You look at guys like, Cliff Kingsbury. He's one of those other guys. To me, I don't think, he's as good as people, say he is. Some people like kind of like a Bieniemy. But you look at Sirianni, he's done a great job. So it's going to be interesting, who's going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. Because, you even mentioned a guy like Harbaugh coming from college to the NFL. So there's so many different, possibilities who could be the next head coach of the Raiders. And, when you talk about the head coach of the Raiders, depending who that is, that has a major effect on Derek Carr's future with the Raiders. So what do you think? I know it's really hard to tell because we don't know who the coach is. But as of right now, what do you think is next for current Raiders quarterback Derek Carr?
All right. I love Derek Carr. Big backer of Derek Carr. Been backing Derek Carr his whole career. I personally believe right now that Derek Carr will not be back with the Raiders next year. And it's hard to say that because this dude is a freaking leader. This guy carries the team. And I put up a post on my TikTok yesterday. Yeah, I use TikTok. I'm one of those guys. But I put up a post, and all I asked was, hey, Raider fans, it's the offseason. Keep Derek Carr, dump Derek Carr. What do you want to do? And it's like 50-50. A lot of people are down the middle. Even Raider fans are fighting with themselves of what they want to do with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is going to be 31 years old next year, come the start of next season. He has basically 1 year on his contract, which can be extended. It can be, but basically one guaranteed money year on his contract, which is a very good team-friendly contract too. And there's a lot of teams out there that need quarterbacks right now, So if I'm the new general manager coming in here, new head coach, I like what Derek Carr does. I think he's a top 12 quarterback in the league, but are we committed to him for the next 4 to 5 years? Because that's what you got to ask yourself. Is this my quarterback for the next 4 to 5 years? And I would say that they're going to say no. So you put him on the block, and you wonder what other teams are going to offer for him. You got to think Pittsburgh's out there looking for a quarterback. New Orleans. There's some top teams out there looking. Cleveland Browns probably, right? They're out there looking for a guy, and they can bring in a guy like Derek Carr. What are they going to give up? And if they're willing to give up a first-round pick and some other stuff, I'm willing to listen if I'm the Raiders. And now the question is, what do I get in return? Who do I put at quarterback in return? That's the biggest question. Is okay, if we lose Derek Carr, who plays quarterback for us? And Mariota is not the answer. I'll tell you that right now. Mariota is not the answer. So then they look at the draft, and I'm not really sold on anybody in the draft. So that's the biggest decision that's going on. Is it's not if you keep Derek Carr, because it'll be easy to get rid of him. It's who do you replace him with is the main question.
When I look at Derek Carr's future, with the Raiders, I don't think he's going to be with the Raiders next season. I was asked back in July on a video and a live. I even said this before this video was released. In July, somebody asked me who's going to be the starting quarterback of the Steelers next 2022. I said Carr. I still stand by that. I think it makes so much sense. I kind of want to be right, but I don't want to be right because I feel like Carr can kind of elevate the Steelers team. Because think about this. If the Steelers won 9 games this season and was still in the playoffs without a doubt, Roethlisberger's worst season, imagine how good the Steelers would be with Derek Carr, who, in my opinion, easily just had his best season ever. And that's something else for the Raiders to look at. This works out perfect for the Raiders because realistically, I feel like in their best interest, you have to trade Carr because he just had his best season. So his trade value is an all-time high. And you look at these teams that you just mentioned, the Saints, possibly the Browns, the Steelers. You look at their teams, they're one quarterback away from possibly being Super Bowl contenders. You get a guy like Carr who just had a monstrous season with the Steelers. The Steelers, in my opinion, some of the wide receivers are overrated, but you have guys like Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, their tight end, possibly Juju Smith. They have so much more weapons in Pittsburgh than Carr had to deal with in Vegas this past season. Same thing with Cleveland, New Orleans. If they don't re-sign Winston, now that's definitely an option. But you mentioned a first-round pick. I think it's possible they can get maybe a first-round pick or a second. But with their trade value right now for Derek Carr, it's at an all-time high. So the Raiders have to take an advantage of it. They would be so stupid not to trade Derek Carr because realistically, I don't think he's going to be a long-term answer with Vegas. I'm sticking with the Steelers. I hope I'm right. I know I'm probably going to regret that if they end up winning the AFC North next season. But I think Carr to the Steelers makes so much sense. I've been saying this for over half a year now. I think if I had to pick somewhere where Carr is going to be, it's definitely Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I would hate Derek Carr to leave. I would hate it, and I don't want to see that day. But just listening to the way he talks, he's been talking since the end of the Bengals game. I just think, they're going to put it on the GM, and like I said, you have to make the decision. 4 to 5 years from now, is Derek Carr the answer? And probably not. I love everything he's done for this organization and the passion and it brings, but I right now can't see him being back with the Raiders.
And it's something else. I feel like when you look at Derek Carr, and if you decide to keep him, and then you kind of basically, you're stuck with him, and you might have to just, re-sign him or something like that. You don't want Derek Carr to kind of be like, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's done pretty good, but the last several seasons, he has not been nearly as good. If you sign, Carr to a long-term deal, you're basically stuck with him, and nobody might want his contract because his play is declining. Then if you would cut him, you would lose, some money and cap space and stuff like that. So I don't see a scenario why he would be back with the Raiders next season. And it sucks because, he seems like a likable guy. And if he goes to Pittsburgh and he's a likable guy, that sucks because I cannot like a Steelers player. I just can't do it. But it's very interesting to see where Carr goes. I feel like wherever he goes, if it's Pittsburgh, New Orleans, possibly, I even like the Browns. I feel like, that's just something to watch out for. Okay, speaking of the Browns, if the Carr was traded to the Browns, would you rather have like a first or second round pick, or would you rather have Mayfield? If there was a quarterback swap, but doubt it will happen. But what are your thoughts?
Give me the picks. Give me the picks. Let me screw up the picks. I don't need to screw up on Mayfield. Give me the picks.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, Mayfield looks like complete crap every single game, except when he plays the Bengals. Then he looks like Aaron freaking Rodgers for whatever reason. Makes no sense at all. But, with, the playoffs, we've been talking about, the Raiders, the Raiders playoff game against the Bengals this past Saturday. There's lots of games, this week. So it's very, very intriguing. The first one here, is the Titans and the Bengals. So who do you have in that one?
I'm taking the Bengals. I know a lot of people are like, well, how are the Bengals going to stop Derrick Henry? Well, if you put up more points than the other team, you stop them. And I think the Bengals. I've never been sold on the Tennessee defense, and from what I see from the Bengals offense, they can hang some points up. I think it's going to be a higher score game than people believe it is, but I'm taking the Bengals.
If you look at the Titans, I think their last 7 games, they've scored 20 or fewer points, I think 4 times or something like that, like something ridiculously low. And then you look at the Bengals, who, scored nearly 40 points against the Chiefs, scored 40 times both times against the Ravens, scored 26 against the Raiders, and they still really could have scored more because they were settling for field goals instead of having some touchdowns. If Henry, I don't see Henry going off this game because I think the Bengals are going to go up early, and that's going to basically eliminate Henry from this game. It's just so crazy. I was talking to somebody the other day. If the Bengals win this game, we are 1 away from a Super Bowl. That is, I felt it's just crazy to say. But I'm going to take Cincinnati in this one. It should be a good game. I think when the spread came out, the Bengals were picked to lose by 3. I would take the Bengals just, outright in that one. Should be a close one, though. Another one here in the AFC, I think this is probably the best game of the week easily, is the Bills and the Chiefs. Right now, both of these are looking pretty good. The Chiefs were on a 10-game, won 9 of the last 10 games, heading into the playoffs, against their only loss was against Cincinnati. Then, they scored with 40 against Pittsburgh. The Bills, they humiliated the Patriots last week. So who do you have in this one?
Oh, it's a tough one. I still believe in Kansas City just a little bit, but you know what? I'll go with the Buffalo Bills. I think they can upset the Kansas City Chiefs, but part of me still wants to go KC, but I'll go the opposite way, and I'll say Buffalo.
Yeah, I'll pit Buffalo in this one as well. I feel like Josh Allen the past couple of weeks has just been absolutely phenomenal. And you look at the last 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season, I think the Bills won 4 straight games. There was some questionable, there was a question at that, I think week 12, week 13. It wasn't even a guarantee Buffalo was going to be in the postseason. And now, they win the AFC East. They humiliate their rival in the wild card game. And now it looks like they might end up being the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I feel like more than likely, whoever wins this game will probably represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I don't like saying it, but it probably will happen, especially if it's Buffalo. I feel like that's the team you just do not want to face right now. I think the Chiefs are more beatable. We saw them in the first half against Pittsburgh. They just did not look like the normal Kansas City, team we're used to seeing. Yeah. And it's going to play down to the competition. The week after the Bengals game, they barely beat the Broncos. They are good, but I don't think they're as good as people think they are. I'll take Buffalo. And that one's setting up a Bengals and Bills AFC championship game. So heading to the NFC, there's the 49ers and the Cowboys. I know the 49ers, obviously they beat the Cowboys, and we were real happy about that. But who do you have in this one between San Francisco and Green Bay?
I'll take Green Bay all day. San Francisco's banged up. Jimmy G's hurt. I know they said that Bosa and Warner are good, but I'm not sold that they're 100% either on that defense. San Francisco is built for the playoffs. They're a good team, but I think Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers is on another level, and I think Green Bay takes it. It's going to be cold in the tundra as well.
And that's something else. You look at some of these opponents. Like for instance, when you go back and look at that Raiders Bengal game, there was times you could really tell the weather was a big factor in that game because the Raiders had multiple drops. This could be definitely a similar situation because San Francisco is not used to playing in cold weather and snow and stuff like that. Used to playing in sunny weather in California. Rodgers and the Packers, I think they're the team to beat, not only in the NFC but I think in the whole NFL in general. I think this is the Super Bowl or bust for them. Who's to say Rodgers might not be with the Packers next season. I'll definitely take Green Bay in this one. And then the last game here in the NFC, we have the Rams and the Buccaneers. Who do you have in this one?
I'm taking the Rams. Why not? I'll take the Rams over. Tampa Bay offensive line is banged up. And you saw that towards the end of the Eagle game last week. even though they did completely dominated the Eagles, their offensive line got banged up. They have all their weapons on Tampa Bay's offense is hurt. So if we put Jalen Ramsey on Mike Evans, you got a bunch of no-name wide receivers after that I believe the Rams defense can take care of. The only thing I'm worried about is that defensive line of Tampa Bay getting to Matthew Stafford, but I think the Rams can make enough plays, have enough running game and passing game to be able to beat that Tampa Bay team.
Yeah, this one is certainly a toss-up to me. When I look at the Rams, them getting Matthew Stafford in the offseason was obviously a huge acquisition, and he's been a major part of why the Rams have been so good this year. But you can look at the last 5 or 6 games; he's kind of been inconsistent. I think Stafford, I think he's underrated. I think he was probably the most underrated quarterback when he was with Detroit. And in my opinion, I think if you put a Super Bowl win to Matthew Stafford's name, I think you could make a legitimate case that he's a future Hall of Famer. But then there's these random times where he just looks like an Andy Dalton. He just sucks, like 3-4 interceptions a game, and his completion percentage is barely 50%. And then he has the weapons like Brady doesn't right now. But it's kind of hard for me to pick against Brady. I know the Tampa Bay roster is not as good as it was. Heading into the season with the injuries and everything like that. With this being in, Tampa Bay, this is kind of another situation, with this, the weather can come into play as well. I know the Rams, play in a dome, but, still used to playing out west, stuff like that, not Tampa Bay, sunny, sunshine and stuff like that. I'm going to take the Buccaneers here. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Rams were to upset the Buccaneers. But when you look at the head-to-head matchups right now, it's just super difficult for me to say to take Matthew Stafford over Brady. I know Brady's getting up there in age, and he has so many weapons. Some of them are hurt, but yeah. I'm still taking Tampa Bay over the Rams. It should be a great game, though. So, looking at these games, we both kind of had, from the majority, had the same picks here. So, who was your Super Bowl pick heading into the playoffs, and are you going to stick with your same Super Bowl pick?
So you probably won't believe it, but heading into the playoffs, I did a show with Mike on the mic, and it was before the Raiders were actually in the playoffs, but I picked the Bengals versus the Packers in the Super Bowl.
I could not emotionally be prepared for that game. I was barely emotionally prepared for this past game. I was telling people, regardless if we won or lost against the Raiders, I was going to be shedding some tears. It's going to be the same scenario. I mean, we're in the Super Bowl. If we win, I'm going to cry tears of joy. If we lose, I'm just going to cry of just upset, of be distraught. But, I mean, that would be something. Me and my dad are big-time Bengals fans, but my mom is a big Packers fan, so that would kind of suck. I don't think that would be a good idea. But, I was talking to somebody else, he's a big Packers fan. I think the Bengals are capable of beating anybody. I just really don't want to play the Packers because I feel like the Bengals have a better chance of beating the Rams or the Buccaneers, the Chiefs, Bills, than the Packers. Because
Bengals have played the Packers, right? They played the Packers this year.
Oh, they should have beat them. Our rookie kicker missed like a couple field goals, and we lost by 3 points, even though they gave us time and time again to.
So why wouldn't you want that rematch?
I feel like if you look at us and the Packers right now, we played back in October. We are 10 times better. The Packers are 20 times better. Both these teams completely different when we played earlier in the season. I feel like they're just when you look at the Packers, they've barely lost any games this year. They lost to the Lions. Rodgers didn't play a second half. The Saints game was a fluke the first game of the year. When Rodgers sucked. They really only had 1 or 2 actual losses, it seems like. And I feel like I just do not want to play them because I feel like the Packers players know that this is possibly Rodgers' last season. A week or so ago, I said that the Packers would win the Super Bowl. I think Rodgers has a legit chance of possibly retiring. But if the Bengals are in the Super Bowl, that would be insane. But I said who did I say? I said the Chiefs and the Packers. I want to stick with it. I don't want to be one of those people switching picks every single week. But I think the Packers are just going to win whoever they play. It's really hard for me to pick against Rodgers right now because even though he won the MVP last season, and we don't often see at times players winning back-to-back MVPs, there's a very, very, very good chance Rodgers wins the MVP again this season. He has been on an absolute tear. 2 interceptions the last 16 games. It's hard for me to pick against Green Bay right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Kansas City and Green Bay, and the Packers win it all.
There you go. All right.
So I mean, it's crazy. The Bengals are still, in it. It's insane. I thought this was going to happen next year, and all these people who thought we were going to win 2 or 3 games, crap like that, it's absolutely ridiculous. But you have any kind of final thoughts or anything like that?
No, just don't just write it out. Enjoy the ride of your team, and it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, but enjoy it, dude. Because like you said, like it's not every year you get to see your team in the playoffs. It's not every year you get to see your team go to a championship. So if you get to enjoy that and you get to see that, just enjoy it, man, and take it all in. Because last time I got to see my team in the Super Bowl was 20 years ago, and it sucks. Like, yeah, but I wish I would have cherished it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely understand. Hopefully, I get to experience, a Super Bowl win sometime soon. But that kind of really about does it, for this video. So, Joe, can you kind of tell some of the listeners to follow you on social media and a little bit about, the Warzone Sports Network and everything?
Yeah, you guys, Joe Morley Sports. You guys can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, but also Warzone Sports Network on YouTube. It's myself, Mike on the mic, Sports, and Tony Tucker. We always have a great time with a bunch of our friends, just watching sports, talking sports, doing whatever, and just having a great time, being fans. You know what I mean? We're not nothing. We're not a network, a major network. We're just fans talking with other fans, having a great time, and that's what is appealing. And we bring everybody in. Everybody who comments on our live screen, we talk to you guys. We have a great time, and that's the good thing about the Warzone Sports.
Yeah, I've seen some of your content the past couple of days. You all have tons of content weekly, with different teams and just different sports and stuff like that. Definitely put the link in the description below so people can check you out, and on the YouTube channel as well. That really kind of about does it. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time on the Sports Dude Hines Show.